Hello everyone, welcome to episode 57 of the Spy Squadron podcast. The Clone Wars rages on. We have a lot of really cool news spoilers to talk about this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, as you know from the video's thumbnail and title, we have a bit of a pressing subject to talk about when it comes to Star Wars Unlimited.
What's got us feeling blue?
But let's talk about the new cards. Last week we talked about the Windu, and someone else came out. The Windu's opponent.
Sure did, and that would be Mr. Jango Fett himself.
The Headless Horseman.
So Jango Fett has ability on his leader side. When a friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit, you may exhaust this leader. If you do, exhaust that enemy unit.
That's pretty good.
It's very good.
That's pretty sweet.
It's essentially that one cost 1/4 Underworld card that came out in a lead up.
Kintan Enforcer.
Turns any card into that card. Which
is awesome, because you can run cards like the battle droids and swing them into things, ping them for one and tap them down. You can run a lot of other cards. If your shielded units get a lot better now. If you're trying to 2-turn trade, if you've got a Hunter of the Haxian Brood with a shield, you can swing into something, tap it down now, remove the shield from Haxian, buy yourself a turn to be able to kill it.
And I think one of the big things is with these battle droids coming in, that's going to be a really cool thing that he utilizes battle droids in a different way to a lot of other decks, where instead of just like exploiting them, he kind of exploits them because you just run them into their bigger stuff and just be like, awesome, I'm going to swing this 1/1 into your Kanan and deal 1 damage and tap him down. Yeah. And I'm going to swing one into one of these battle droids into your Luke, and then I'm going to tap him down. And I think that's kind of like a really interesting way to go about making a leader like this.
This is our first yellow leader of the set, the yellow villain. Like father, like son, he flips at 5.
But alas, the son stood on the shoulders of the father to get an extra attack point because he is a 3/7.
This is what I wish Boba was like. Why can't Boba be a 3/7?
Then this is them going, okay, guys.
Maybe we made him. Maybe we did. Maybe we did make a mistake.
But look, not Boba.
Jango's better, I guess. He's Underworld Bounty Hunter as well. He's a 3/7, and he says when a friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit, you may exhaust that unit. So it's just like Boba's flip. It's just not once per turn anymore. Interestingly, with this leader, we see where the other half of Fire Spray comes from. Obviously, it entering ready derives from Boba readying stuff, but its other ability, which some of you probably don't even know exists, is pay 2 and tap a non-unique unit.
You're right. But absolutely, one of the really, really cool interactions that was confirmed by one of the devs is this interaction with something like the
Vambrace Flamethrower,
in which if you go ping 1, ping 1, ping 1, because the Vambrace says this unit gains this ability, it is the unit that is dealing that damage and therefore will tap each of those units.
Super rad. Like, honestly, building like a red-yellow upgrade Jango deck, because we both like Vambrace Flamethrower a lot, but there's never really been anywhere you want to put it.
But with this, being able to be like if you're able to swing and tap 3 things and ping 3 things.
It's swing like 5 at base, or swing 4 at base. Is it +1/+2, or is it +2/+2?
I think it's +2/+0.
Swing
+2/+1.
5. Swing 5 at base and tap 3 things down every turn, and you can just claim.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unless they can kill Jango,
and you're still pinging them for 1, so you're still getting that damage on them. It's not like you're just tapping them, which was the issue that a lot of yellow decks had when tapping a lot of things. Was just kind of you weren't dealing with them, but like getting those breakpoints, getting those kind of things where you can swing other units into it, becomes really good, and you can start to do a lot of damage when you're able to tap that many things in 100%. One action.
Really fun leader in Twin Suns with Cad Bane as well, because if you flip Cad Bane and you play an Underworld unit, this Cad will ping their unit and Jango will tap their unit. So that's pretty interesting. But
that's cool.
It's just a neat little interaction. But I think this is a really good leader.
But only when he's in a unit.
Exactly. Only when he is deployed, because it's only unit form. So that's what I should have specified. That's what I was referencing in my head. That's what I was like. Absolutely. You flipped him. But one thing I think this is a really good leader, and we're going to talk a little bit later in the episode about it, but this is the kind of leader that befits the spirit of the game, because it is your units trading into other units to get positive value by getting effects. And that is in the spirit of this game. I think Jango's a really great leader. I think he is what Boba should have been. He's well balanced. He's interesting. He's got fun dynamics. I give him a 4 out of 5 on the spice.
I think he's gonna be a really fun deck to play.
Completely agree.
Possibly not super meta relevant, but I think it's just going to be one of those cases where he's going to be fun to play. Once
again, we'll probably talk about it in this episode, but there's a reason he's not going to be meta relevant. But I think he's good.
Speaking of cool things that aren't meta relevant,
we got 2 weird Jango cards.
We got two legendaries to talk about before we start getting into.
We've got 3 legendaries to talk about ultimately.
I said before we get into more leaders.
More leaders.
The first one we're going to talk about is Ayla Sakura.
Oh yeah.
A 5-cost command heroism. She's a 6/5 Force Jedi Republic. I can see that a lot. With, you guessed it, coordinate.
Oh my god.
On attack, prevent all combat damage that we dealt to this unit for this attack.
So she's like a different Han Solo sort of, where when she attacks, she essentially, before dealing damage first, she just doesn't take any back.
I wish, there's part of me that wishes that this just said coordinate, prevent all combat damage that we dealt to this. So it can't be, like, while you have
that'd be awesome.
They'd have to swing into the other things before they can swing into her.
That would actually be really, really cool. But I think at the end of the day, she's still really good. Like, with the leader we're about to show you, if you run ECL with that leader, you can ECL her in on the turn that leader flips.
Yeah.
And then she just can wipe something out.
I think it's one of those situations where if you can get that coordinate off, it's a Han because it's 6 damage, no damage back.
That's 2 turns early. 2 turns early.
Exactly.
It's a big if though.
But you get it off, And that's what I've been saying about the coordinate is it needs these really powerful abilities and these really well-costed units to be like awesome.
To be able to
get this off, I need this big payoff, and this is what we're starting to see.
I think she's interesting. I think she's very middle of the road because I think that coordinate can be tough, but I think her ability is like really, really good. And I think even removing her ability, she's a 5-cost 6/5. Yeah. So I think that I would give her a 3 out of 5 on the Spiceometer. Oh my lord, this is the card I've been waiting for. This is him.
What a card.
Oh, it's beautiful. General Grievous, Trophy Collector. This is a 3-cost blue villain 4/4 separatist official.
I love him.
What is it? What's the first part of him say? Just tell me.
It says, ignore the aspect penalty on each lightsaber upgrade you play on this unit.
That is...
What an absolute piece of jank. I love it.
But what's even better is when I finally add all these lightsabers to him, he's been trained in your Jedi arts. He knows the ways, because when he attacks, if this unit has 4 or more lightsaber upgrades attached to him, defeat 4 enemy units. Big. Because remember the scene from the 2003 Clone Wars animated where he's like fighting the Jedi, he's got like the lightsabers in his hand, one in his foot, and he's like, do. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, this is a fantastic card in a way that it has absolutely nothing to do with anything meta related, and this might be even more jank than the 20,000 cost. What's the double green? Endless Legion.
Yeah.
The Endless Legion in jank factor. I think this comes even higher on the list. And not only did they give us this absolutely lovely legendary unit, but they said, you know what? Let's throw you a rare too.
They gave
because
fine
we
edition.
Cannot talk about Grievous without talking about
fine edition.
A fine edition,
it's
which
so
is a 0-cost vigilance, villainy, supply. If an enemy unit was defeated this phase, play an upgrade from your hand or any player's discard pile. Ignore its aspect penalty.
So if they had a Luke with a Luke's lightsaber on him, you kill him, this will make a fine addition to my collection.
It sure will. I assume we're going to be getting a bunch more lightsabers as well. We have the General Saber, Mace's Saber, but we're going to be getting more. And this is probably not something that's ever going to be able... If you can pull off this maneuver... Yeah,
if you can pull off the on attack and just get this off.
Because if you put 4 lightsabers on him, at the moment, at minimum, I believe, like, what?
He'd be like 12. He'd be like hitting for 12, like, at minimum.
I think it's like 15 minimum.
Yeah, because 4, and then if you've got Fallen and Jedi lightsaber on him, that makes him 10. And then Luke and Vader's lightsaber would make him 16. He'd
Yeah.
be hitting for 16.
So minimum with like Dooku's lightsaber, which is two attack, which I think is the lowest attack lightsaber.
Dooku's
that we have.
lightsaber.
Not Dooku.
Vader's lightsaber.
Windu's lightsaber,
Oh,
which is a 2/2.
Plus 2 plus. But plus 2 makes him a 6/6.
And so, well, then plus the plus 3 plus 3 plus the plus 3 plus 3. So, like, you get him high stats. Obviously, things like Rivals, Fall, and Vanquish exist. But
We'll talk about that.
we will. But it's one of those cases where if you're able to get this off, you deserve it. You deserve to kill 4 things on the board because you're swinging 15 into base.
Now, one thing I do want to talk about is this card is actually also totally not jank at all. It's like actually really good. Like this is an actually competitively viable card in some decks because ignore Grievous's ability. He's a 3-cost 4/4.
It's 3-cost 4/4. It's just good.
Especially in a Dooku deck where you're playing a turn 1 play. Like I've tested a bit of Dooku, and there's that 1-cost trooper, or frankly, look, to be honest, any 1-cost. And then there's that, but the best one is the 1-cost 1/2 trooper, that when he's defeated, you put a 1/1 counter on something. So, as part of the cost of Grievous, you sack him and then play Grievous, and then once Grievous is done being played, then you would resolve the when defeated effect, you put a counter on him, and you've got a turn 1 5/5 in a Dooku deck. Because you pay 1 for the boy, sack him with sack him with Dooku, play Grievous for 1 because he's a separatist, reducing his cost by 2, and he's a 5/5 because you get to put the counter on him. So there is like, even if you don't put the counter on him, getting a turn 1 4/4 is pretty solid. If you don't get a turn 1 4/4, you can play him as a turn 2 4/4. So I think like ultimately Grievous's stat line makes him really good.
Yeah, and I mean the stat line is deserving of a legendary that has this much jank on it, right?
Yes.
At the end of the day, if they could have just printed it as a 3-cost 4/4 blank, but and if they print it with a 3-cost 4/4 with an amazing ability, it'd be like, wow, this is insane. But
the jank ability really makes this card more lovable.
Yeah.
It's so like I'm never going to be upset to pull I hope I get a hyperfoil one.
Oh, me too.
Because I love Grievous. I'm a big Grievous fanboy. I think that he's really cool. I think he's like my 3rd favorite Star Wars character, which is a big departure from Kanan, and then it's 2 separatists.
You know, at some point I'm playing Grievous, and I'm playing Grievous Blue just to play Grievous and just throw a bunch of lightsabers in there and all this random jank.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get like a Dooku's saber, we get like an Asajj's saber. Like I would really personally like to see cards like that in this set. Like we've got a General's saber, awesome. But give me Obi-Wan's lightsaber. Give me Yoda's lightsaber. Just like, give me these cards, please. I want them. I don't care if I don't get them, like, in later sets, but I want them now. But
when are you going to have 4 units on the board for him to kill? You'd have to have some ability to just...
I give him a 4 out of 5.
Fair enough. You'd have to have some ability to just spam out tokens in some way.
Some sort of ability that enables coordinate, maybe. Like maybe if there was a leader that let you make tokens.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be great.
Probably, Captain Rex?
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, like, it'd be like Captain Rex because he's always fighting for his brothers.
Yeah. I think the ability would be something along the lines of, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, just spitballing. An action, pay 2, tap him.
Yep.
If a friendly unit attacked this phase, create a clone trooper token.
Yeah, it'd be a command hero Republic clone trooper with epic action flip at 5. He's a 2/6 on his backside. He's got a nice backside. When he's deployed, you get to make a clone token, and then just a passive ability. Each other friendly trooper unit gets +0/+1.
So this is Rex, in case you didn't notice.
Fighting for his brothers.
Absolutely. Really, really interesting leader.
He's actually pretty good.
A really, really interesting leader. I think his front side, weirdly enough, is something that is used
in the late game.
Towards the mid to late game when you just have those resources available and you're like, cool, I've swung with stuff. Let's just make a 2/2.
I initially discounted this leader because I was like, oh, he's too hard to make a token in the early game. And then I made a list for him, and the list is you just ramp so you can flip him a turn to 2 turns earlier, and then just go hard, and if they kill him, whatever. You just have clones out anyway because he flipped, and then you just make more clones.
Yeah, and His 2/6 is a really cool stat line for him. I really like that stat line. It gets away from a few of the troublesome removal cards. And being able to make that clone token on flip is actually really cool as well. And with him and the new Yularen card, your clone tokens are actually coming out as 2/4s, which is actually a really cool stat line to have on these as a token that is so easily created.
But clones aren't the only troopers in the game. No. Rex buffs not only clones, but he also buffs cards like there's Captain Tico, the 3/4 that makes a Sentinel or becomes a Sentinel. Hey, make him a 3/5. You've got Battlefield Marine becomes a 3/4. My favorite is Echo-based Defender becomes a 4/4, which is
a 4/4 for 3.
A 4/4 Sentinel for 3.
That's very good. Also protects
good.
Captain Rex from getting taken out as well.
Exactly.
Absolutely, love that.
So there's a lot of troopers, and it's good to see that Rex synergizes with them specifically. I really love that trooper is an archetype that's seeing. Like,
they could have really easily made this each friendly clone unit.
Yeah, they could have made it clones, but I
like
like
that troopers, and I think it also fits Rex more.
Yeah.
Like he was a commander, he led troopers, he led clones. He
went in Rebels. He joined them and led Rebel troopers.
Yeah.
Over Rex's career as a commander, he didn't just lead clones. He led. Freedom fighters. He led fighters for freedom.
You could say he even commanded them.
Oh, lordy. But Rex is genuinely a pretty good leader. And this is the kind of leader we wanted to see for Coordinate. An early flip creates a clone, and then he makes your clones actually really survivable.
Or at least more survivable, which is actually a big deal.
Makes it annoying to swing into them, which is pretty huge. I actually really like this leader. I built a mono green deck with him, and I've got to say, building a deck with Rex is really fun because there's already so many options that you just want to try to fit in, but you're like, oh my gosh. We've got that Rex 6 cost, and a combo you mentioned that I really liked and have put in the deck is the set 2 Echo. You can flip Rex, pay 4, play Echo, discard the 6 cost Rex, and make this one a 4/7. So he's Boba Fett.
4/8.
4/8. Your clones are very impressive. You must be quite proud.
Absolutely. It's a really cool play that you can put through. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff. And obviously, like, at face value, he is lower statted than a lot of those other leaders that are coming out. But when you think about it,
He's a 4/9.
It comes out as
a 4/9 because the clone trooper comes out and he flips and becomes 4 attack because of the clone trooper and 9 health because the clone trooper gets a +1 buff from him.
So as a flip, just value for stats on board, this is probably one of the highest of them.
Yeah, and it also enables abilities that your deck wants to run. So it enables Coordinate. So ultimately, very good card. Works really well with the Shakti unit. Like in mono green, you like ambush it in and then, or just play it, and suddenly Rex is flipping, and she gives all of your tokens +1/+0, and he gives all of your troopers +0/+1, so your clones are 3/3s. You get Battlefield Marines. Every turn you attack with Shakti, you make a Battlefield Marine.
Absolutely.
So I give him a 4 out of 5. I think he's really good.
I think it'd be really fun to play around him, and
I agree.
keen to see his showcase.
It's Maul's camp.
It is the Shadows Collective camp
on Zanzibar.
This is the last of the bases that we're going to be seeing, the rare bases. And we were like, if it's not a flip, create a clone, then it's just like that's just what it is. It's not. It's not that at all. It's not that at all. It is a when you deploy this leader. It is a 25 health base, and it is when you deploy this leader, draw a card. Very red.
Yeah, I think make a clone might have been difficult to balance.
Because I think especially like with Rex being able to flip and do 2 codes, it would actually start to get.
And it's red too, so you'd be able to run like Battle Brothers, which is the 3 cost 3/1 that makes a clone when you play it. So suddenly you like 3 cost 3/2 make a clone, and then you got this, you flip Rex and you make a clone, and that would actually be genuinely really good. But drawing a card isn't bad though. Like early flip leaders like Sabine.
No, we were talking about this earlier, and to me, a lot of the draw is not great in SWU. There's been a lot of stuff that's like draw, and it's kind of taken away. And I feel like a lot of that is for 2 reasons. A, it usually uses a card in your hand, so you're kind of negating the fact that you're already drawing less than you kind of are. It's like, draw 2. It's like, awesome, I kind of only just drew 1. And then it costs resources. So it costs resources, it costs actions. Both of these things slow down a deck immensely and lose a lot of tempo. And in SWU, losing that tempo is a really big deal.
Yep.
Even if you have more options in hand now, losing that tempo can make it really hard to claw your way back. But this card does allow that draw unmitigated to actions and unmitigated to resource or card cost.
Which is pretty good.
It is the best draw in the game. The cost is 5 health to your base. So you can decide on whether that's something that you would like to do. I think it goes really well in any sort of aggro deck.
Yeah.
Any aggro deck where you're running like a yellow-red aggro deck where you're going really hard. Any deck that you're going hard on the aggro, you don't really care about your base as much.
I don't think this works great in a mid-range or control deck. I wouldn't run it in these, but I would run it in an aggro deck because if you're flipping Sabine early, you're drawing a card. That's just an extra piece of momentum.
Absolutely.
So I think James is right in there where it's not wasting a card in hand. It's just netting you +1. A lot of the time you don't care about the 5 health if you're aggro. It just doesn't matter.
To +1 right now, you need to pay, in red, you need to pay 3 resources and a card. Well, and you need to pay 3 resources because then you play mission briefing and draw 2 cards. So you get plussing 1 card. It costs you 3 resources.
It costs you an action too.
And the action. So this is kind of in that way where you really only need to get one of those off a game to be pretty comfortable. This is that one.
Yeah.
And you now no longer, I feel like this is going to boost a lot of aggro decks mid-game where they flip that leader and they have more resources to be like, awesome, play a 2 cost, pay a 3 cost, and you're not just out of cards in hand.
It's interesting. I think that in aggro, you definitely don't care about the 5 extra health. And a lot of the time you were running ECL, but I think this gives mono red a good option to shoot up in there because a lot of mono red decks were kind of just running Tarkin Town. But they weren't using it every game, which I think is kind of like, if you're not using it every game, it's rough. Like I know with my CAD red deck, I use it every game. I use it almost every first turn.
And you wouldn't want to change that to
but
this.
if I'm using a red aggro deck where I'm just kind of like, I'm not always using Tarkin Town.
Yeah, if I'm playing something like a mono red Cassian, I'm happy with that draw. You flip Cassian, you draw a card, you swing 4 in the base, you draw another card, you play a 2 cost, you pay a 2 cost, you pay a 3 cost, you pay another 2 costs.
Could even just go pay 1, draw a card, flip Cassian, draw a card, swing Cassian, draw a card.
Yeah, it's definitely a situation where you can really get some cool things going with this, and I think a lot of people have discounted it immediately, and I think this is one of the ones that is going to come back, and people are going to go, well, I actually don't really care, because especially at the moment, if I'm playing an aggro deck, if I reach turn 6, I'm versing this control deck that's not... if I lose all my health on my base, it's because I've lost 4 turns ago. Yeah. Not because, if I had that 5 more health.
If you're losing against a control deck, they've grinded you out.
Yeah.
I think this base is interesting. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think we'll do our, considering all the bases are out, let's do our set 3 base tier list right now. This is A tier and the rest are in C. Actually, no, this is A tier, the yellow one's in B and the other 2 are in C. Because I think the yellow one giving a +1 is fine in like a yellow Sabine deck or a Boba deck.
Well, blue one you were pretty high on. I'm getting that +1 health.
Yeah, but I think I was high on it in Obi-Wan. I think like giving it +1 health in Obi-Wan is like, yeah! But that's mono blue Obi-Wan.
Still better than Jeddah.
Still, yeah, the yellow one's way better than Jeddah. Being able to give Sabine or Boba +1 attack, I think is super good. So I think that's why that's B tier. I think this is definitely the most usable of those bases. We may see that change. That's our Spy Squadron stamp of approval.
Whoa! His stamp of approval.
Spy Squadron. I speak for us all 3 of us. You, me, and Keith.
God damn it.
Oh my lord.
Oh my god.
Did you know that this man is an extremist and his views do not reflect that of the trade federations?
What?
It's true.
It is Nute Gunray, baby. Whoa. He is a vindictive viceroy.
He's also a big friggin' slippery coward. That's what he is.
That's what he is.
I'll pay you if you free me. I know people in high places.
His ability is action, tap him. If 2 or more friendly units were defeated this phase, create a battle droid.
Roger, roger.
Roger, roger.
Roger, roger.
The pros of this doesn't cost a resource, unlike something like a clone, which costs us 2 resources. You're getting that for absolute
just costs you 2
free.
units.
The idea of this one is very simple.
Explode.
Exactly. You create a lot of battle droids. You exploit those battle droids, you tap him, and you essentially recycle one of your battle droids that you just used to exploit. It is genuinely a really interesting way to do it, and it does facilitate exploit a lot more than something like Dooku. Whereas Dooku needs to create his own exploit targets, this does have that ability to go, okay, I don't have to focus my deck as much on creating them because I can have that kind of loop going.
Dooku plays Separatist cards better than this deck, but this deck plays exploit cards better than Dooku does.
Absolutely.
Because Dooku plays Separatist cards at a reduced cost. You don't always have to sack, but when you do, it's really good and you get ahead of value. This card wants to play those exploit cards. This card just says, hey, don't worry about like putting in all the really good Separatists. Just put in all the really good exploit cards and let me do the work. He also has the funniest artwork in the game because he flips at 6, and on his flip side, you'll see Viceroy Gunray standing there going, and in the background, his little friend is going, which I think is really funny.
I like that you flip him and you see him. Like you don't see him in the later up, you see him and so you flip him.
He is a 6 cost 2/8 Separatist official. Let's go. Grievous tags on attack. Create a battle droid.
Absolutely. So here's just a situation where you just...
It's like a 1 extra health Tarkin, sort of.
Yeah, you flip him and you just kind of go, all right, here's some more exploit targets.
Yeah. This sets Tarkin. This is what it
Honestly,
is.
I'd swing with him twice and then I'd exploit him.
Honestly? Yeah. Swing with him a bunch of Battle for Christophsis early.
Yeah.
Like, he just... That's what his poor friend in the background's worried about.
Yeah,
he's good. He's like, we're going to get exploited. he's not having a bar of it. But Gunray's like, yeah, he'd never do that to me.
But yeah, overall, I think this is a really interesting deck.
Yeah.
If you're able to build more of an exploit blue deck, I think that's something that could be really interesting with this, with that ability to essentially recycle those
I would
battle droids
really
through.
just like to see a battle droid payoff. I think if there's I would like to see a deck that doesn't exploit. I would like to see a deck that is not Grievous, that wants to make droid tokens and that just has a payoff for them. Like Kalani, when he attacks, you give all of your droids tokens +1/+1. So, I think having a deck like this where a leader can just swing and make a droid and swing and make a droid, I really want to see that. We know a blue upgrade called Roger Roger is coming out because it's on the back of the pre-release kit. Hopefully, it's a card that when a unit attacks, you can attack with a token.
Very
It
true.
would be really cool to put this on Nute Gunray and for him to be like commanding his droid guards to be like, no, you go get him. And they're like, Roger, Roger. And then they go out and they attack. And
it would be interesting if it was like it was an upgrade, you put something on attack, untap a token. So you could put on Nute Gunray, you swing with him, create the battle droid, then untap it.
That'd be awesome. Again, Nute Gunray already works really well with cards like Invisible Hand. If you can stave it off there, you're making battle droids the whole time. Play the Invisible Hand and then just make 4 more and then just swing with it and tap. Like, it could be really cool to build a Nute Gunray deck that doesn't exploit and that waits and plays like Phase 3 Dark Troopers and Sentinels. So he's an official, so you play Emperor's Royal Guards and things like that. They're beating in while you're making droids, and then suddenly you're like, hey, timely intervention, Invisible Hand, tap my 20 battle droids. Pew, 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 pew. So I think Nute Gunray is an interesting leader. I don't know where he'll go. I hope that he works well with exploit. He seems like he's geared towards it, but I really hope he works well for just battle droids. I give him a 3 out of 5. I think he's very middle of the road. Now there are 2 of them. This is getting out of hand.
Yep, so we're moving on to the last legendary that we have to talk about.
That's so memeable.
It is.
It's
great.
It's just full of
There's
memes.
so many great quotes. This is a 3 cost. Now there are 2 of them. It's a trick. We do love our tricks in here in Spice
We do love our tricks.
If you control exactly 1 unit, play a non-vehicle unit from your hand that shares a trait with the unit you control. It costs 5 less.
It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. Now, it has some interesting connotations. There's a lot of really interesting things that this works with. A couple of cool ones, even from this set, is playing something like Grogu, and then playing a yellow-blue deck and going play Grogu turn 1, play Ki-Adi-Mundi turn 2 with this.
You play Ki-Adi-Mundi with any Republic as well.
Or any Republic card as well, that also works. But yeah, something like that. So it's kind of similar to something like Sneak Attack.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to something like Triple Dark Raid. The difference is you're not coming in ready. The payoff is you're not getting rid of it at the end of the turn.
You're paying 5 less for this card. You can play AL Sakura turn 2. You can play Cody turn 2. You can play Pong Krell turn 2, who's no, he's double green, actually. I take that one back. Scrub that one for the record. This week's gameplay, go check it out. Both of our decks could have used it. With my deck, you can play a turn 2 boss.
My deck was mono green.
You can turn 2, but no, I mean like if you were yellow.
True.
I could turn 2 Bosk in my deck, and he could have, if he's playing that, you could play a Rebel Spaceship turn 1 and then play a Wedge turn 2 from this.
Yeah.
There is a lot of payoff to this. There is a lot of cost to this.
Yes, it is still costing you the 3. It is still costing you not 1 card from hand, but 2 cards from hand.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And I think that unless we get some more ways for them to refill their hand, it's going to fall into the same trap that Sneak Attack did.
Yeah.
And Triple Dark Raid. Well, Triple Dark Raid less so, but Sneak Attack especially is if you do it and they just remove it,
you'd get 2 for 1.
And you're just sitting.
I think
duck.
Currently Ki-Adi-Mundi is the best one for this because, not to toot our own horn, but if you run Outspoken Representative in your deck, you play Outspoken Representative turn 1, and then you play this turn 2 with Ki-Adi-Mundi down. Then you have a 0/3 Sentinel. If they kill it, you get a 2/3. The first thing you do next turn is play a unit, and then you've got your Coordinate ability live.
And if even if you do something like you swing the representative for nothing. Yeah, it's 0/3, yeah. For nothing, and then they play a card, and then you go, awesome, play this, play Ki-Adi-Mundi, and you go, I'll play this, and you go, awesome, I'll draw 2 cards.
Yeah, we have to have 2 other units on the field for the coordinate to trigger, which is why you do this turn 2, and then the first thing you do next turn, and it's really good because if they're on the play, and they play a card, and then you go, sweet, play a unit, and then they go, okay, cool, play this card, and you go, cool, I'll just draw the 2 cards that I just lost. So I think that this card works the best with Ki-Adi-Mundi currently, and I think that's really interesting. You can also do stuff like play the 5-cost Ray with Grogu. You can, if you want to, you can, if you wait till turn 3, you have 4 resources, you can play 6 costs. You can get, like, Obi-Wan's out, you can get wherever I go, he goes, the Mando out, and you just bump up your turn 1 plays, things like that. So there's a lot you could do. You get Xanadu Bloods out.
If you really want to.
If you're playing an Imperial deck, with yellow red Imperials, you can get Ruthless Raider out on turn 3, sorry.
There's definitely some interesting things that you can do with this, and I definitely think that it's going to be an interesting card to play around. I'm not sure how much we're going to see it come the full set release, but it is a cool legendary. It's got a cool name, and I'm certainly going to play a Jabba, grab this, and pay 2 for it for something at some point.
I give this a 4 out of 6. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 6.
4 out of 6?
A 4/6, the best stat line. I give this 4 out of 5.
What a
that's all
perfect segue.
Segue into talking about.
Because now we're going to talk about why a 4/6 is better than a 5/6. And there's a lot to talk about, and we've talked about this a lot already. So we have a lot of the points that we want to say down here. We're going to start this off in saying, please discuss with us in the comments your thoughts on this.
It's something we're very passionate about.
I understand if this is going to come across to some people who have isolated metas as a little bit doomsayery, as a little bit, oh no, this is terrible, and naysayery. But this is the experience that we are currently having in Star Wars Unlimited, and it's the experience we're starting to see creep across a lot of tournaments that are coming out. So
yeah, it's an experience that we've researched on as well. Before talking about this episode, I took the liberty of reviewing a few of the larger tournaments, and we discussed this beforehand on the episode, and I noticed a trend, and that trend was a color, and the reason that color was trending is honestly because of 4 cards in that color.
Absolutely. And going to our own store showdowns, it was rampant there. Australia's meta is extremely control-y. We knew that kind of from the beginning.
I mean, it's very competitive.
But this took it to another level. And so we'll get right to it. Vigilance.
Blue.
The system itself has a problem. And right now that problem is twofold. A list of cards too long that have almost unmitigated removal.
Yeah.
And the ability to only run those cards. And those two things come together to a really dangerous combination that makes it extremely unfun to play against.
Yeah. Blue is currently the most splashable and the most playable color and monocolor variants in the game. I think I'll take this moment to remind everyone that SWU's core mechanic of gameplay is arena battles, training units in the arenas and attacking bases. That is SWU's core gameplay. That is what was pitched to us at the beginning. That is what has been told to us throughout. And I believe that is still the intention of the game designers. I honestly wholeheartedly believe that this is something that was missed.
Like something like Jango. Look at Jango and how much it's relying on those core mechanics.
Yeah, that deck intrinsically is, you play your units, you swing into units, you lock down arenas and you trade, and it's locking down arenas without the usage of unmitigated hard removal. You hit cards, you might trade a battle droid and tap something down, and for that turn you buy yourself some time to maybe find a solution, things like that. That's the spirit of the game.
Yep.
And the unfortunate thing with what's currently happened is that now control in most games is similar to what we have in SWU. However, the game of SWU is fundamentally different from almost every single other card game on the market.
Yeah, the action for action system of SWU makes it so that these, like, a lot of these things where would be fine in other games can react extremely differently in SWU, and react and all kinds of cards react really differently because of that consistent trade.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is, and we'll just get right down to brass tacks here, Vigilance's biggest problem is its unmitigated removal. Its ability to have 3 to 7 cards in its lineup, depending on which color combination you're playing, villain or hero, that can and will simply remove any card in the game, including cards that were initially designed around that. Like Phantoms. Blue can just beat Phantoms, and Blue can beat Phantoms very easily with little to no effort.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about Phantom is one of the things that is really tough is a lot of this was created, and I feel from a game design perspective, as a thing of, hey, we're going to create this core mechanic, but we don't want it to be too powerful, so we need to make sure there's a counter to it.
Yes.
And they created a counter to this kind of like heavy removal in the Phantom. The problem is...
Phantom is locked to a color and it's locked to a dual color combination.
But also, the counter to the Phantom is in the color that it's trying to counter. The make-and openings, the loops, the Mystic Reflection, if you really want to play it.
Well, the new
that's
one,
all blue.
The new one that just came out, the one that's like even the numbers or even the odds or something like that, and it's -2/-2 to a unit. If you have less units than your opponent, -2/-2 to another unit, that is literally a mono blue card. And I think the biggest thing is to address this now before we get any like blah 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 in the comments. You go, well, I love blue.
We love blue.
We love blue. We love blue. But the problem is people who are splashing blue or playing blue in their decks, not people individually, but like people who are constructing decks, the main driving factor for running blue is not the interesting cards. If you're building a Cad Bane blue deck, you're not running it for you're not running it for Pike Sentinel or Lom Pike. You're running it for specific set of cards. If you're running Bosk, you're not running it for Pike Sentinel or the interesting bounties. You're running it for Power of the Dark Side, Fell the Dragon, Takedown, Vigilance, and Rival's Fall.
And I think one of the first ones that
you're running it for.
I think one of the first ones that we're going to lock down and talk about is Fell the Dragon. Fell the Dragon, obviously, is a card that came out in Set 2, Shadows of the Galaxy. It is a 4-cost event that says defeat a unit that has power 5 or more.
Yep. And
this was this was designed to say, awesome, that crate dragon that you have, we have a way around it.
Yep.
You're not absolutely screwed. We have this.
But wait a second, James. Don't they already have ways around it, like Power of the Dark Side and Vanquish and Rival's Fall, or just simply trading into it? Because I've found myself not playing blue and playing against a crate dragon and easily being able to deal with it, or winning before they get a crate dragon out.
Yes, crate dragon is a 10 cost or 9 cost. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot.
You have to get there.
Yeah.
And in these aggro decks, sometimes it can be tough to get there. But what Fell the Dragon ends up being is a card that has value over almost anything that it removes.
Yep.
So no matter what the unit is, because there are very few 4-cost 5 damage units. The list is very small if there is one. I don't want to say there's none and then there be one, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, there's
that battle droid. There's that new battle 3-cost 5 too that does nothing.
Most units with 5 cost, with more than 4 cost.
More than 4 power.
More than 5 power, or 5 power or more, are higher costed than Fell the Dragon. So Fell the Dragon inherently is more valuable than the unit that it's removing.
It's more valuable than Takedown, because Takedown cost 4, and most of the units Takedown can kill cost less than it. Cost around the same as it. So or less. So Takedown is a fine card because it removes a lot of the early game units, but it caps out at the high end of the game, meaning that your opponent still gets their big swingy plays. And that's why Takedown's value stops. Takedown is a reasonable piece of removal because it caps off, because it stops. However, cards like Ayla Secura, Poe Dameron, Wrecker, Luke Skywalker, all of these cards get hit and just die to Fell the Dragon for 4. And when your opponent's playing these cards, they're playing them at 7, 6, 8 resources, and you're paying 4. And then you have 2 left, and they've spent all their resources to play Luke Skywalker for 7, but you pay 4 and you kill it. And then you pay 3 and do something else. So you're 2 for 1-ing your opponent after they've spent their whole turn doing something, and you're not threatened because you have more Fell the Dragons in your deck.
The worst part about Fell the Dragon is there's only 3 of them in your deck. And that's
bad. That's really bad.
The fact that the only way to beat Fell the Dragon is to have more bombs than they do Fell the Dragons is a problem. And one of the big things about Fell the Dragon is it takes a lot of the
skill.
No, not necessarily.
I think it does.
But that is quite possible. It's another debate to be had, in my opinion. But it takes a lot of the decks that are running these cool combos where they play something cool and then they do something off that and goes, awesome. No.
It also removes the option to do that. As I said, it removes skill, in my opinion, and the reason I say this, I'll give some context and explanation, is because when I'm constructing a deck and I'm going, I could include these series of cards because they create an interesting dynamic of working with this and this with Bosk and blah, blah. Oh, Why would I do that when I can run Fel the Dragon instead?
Yeah. I'm not going to
save
try
myself
to
some time.
find a way to make sure that if I come across a good player and he's playing those Lukes down, that I find a way to be able to deal with that, but I can just put 3 Fel Dragons in, and it's so much better than almost anything else that I can do to get 7 damage to something. If I'm playing red or mono red, I don't have the ability to deal 7 damage for 4. Could you imagine a 4 cost that deals 7 damage?
Yeah, that'd be insane. That would be wild.
Why do we have this ability to not only deal 7 damage, but go, oh, you put a shield on Luke too? Well, oh, you put a Jedi lightsaber and Luke's lightsaber and shielded him, and now he's he's a 10.
Pay for dead.
Like, it's these situations that make it really hard to justify how much value you can get from this piece of removal. And in a situation where they have a lot of other removal as well, it becomes so hard to try to get anything to stick on the board, and that's a problem, because we're moving to one of the biggest problems that Blue has is when you say, oh, that's fine, I'll have more units than they can remove. Which is true.
Unless you get milled.
Unless 18 of your cards have just gone to the discard pile.
Yeah, unless you get milled and the game of arena trading becomes restocking your vigilances for 50 minutes. Like,
and
there is no skill in that. I think the only semblance of skill that you can wretch from this, and the littlest drop you can get from that, is I just need to know when to vigilance him against his restocks.
Yes. The vigilance restock endgame is something that takes skill to finish, but it's also a situation that shouldn't exist. That vigilance endgame shouldn't be a thing that people look towards.
See, I don't think it takes skill. I think you need to put in a small modicum of thought as to when to vigilance, and to me, that doesn't derive enough skill to be like, oh, I think the biggest thing is in other card games, control decks do require skill. Because a lot of the time you have to be on top of your opponent. If you let them slip, you can cost you the game. And that notoriously means control is very difficult to play against, which means, very difficult to play, which means when you play against a good player who has control, it's very difficult to play against. The problem that SWU faces currently is that all of the control cards are so forgiving that you can mill 6 and heal 5, or, mill 6 and kill this, and you're removing your opponent's threats and healing yourself, and all of the removal is unmitigated, and all of the removal is responsive immediately.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where I think not one of these cards are like particularly crazy on their own.
No.
But when you put it all in tandem,
yeah, as a package,
the absolute main thing about it is it doesn't just create a situation that's like, oh, this is a difficult situation. It creates an unfun situation to play. Yeah. And it creates a situation where if like almost every game you're playing is going to mill, then there's something that needs to be looked at.
You're not playing the game. You are actively not playing the game. The thing is, as well, as I said earlier, just to cap off that point, is a lot of the decks that are good are blue. And the reason they're good and running blue is not because you want blue pieces. It's because you want Vigilance, Takedown, Fel the Dragon, and Rivals Fall. Predominantly Fel the Dragon and Vigilance is the cards you want, because you want to be able to, in a mirror, where someone else is running a control deck, you want to grind them out. So you run Vigilance. In a non-mirror deck against value decks, you want to run Fel the Dragon to kill stuff. And this is not contained. This is decks that have recently won big time. Cad Blue, Bosk Blue, Mono Blue Iden, Mono Blue Kira, Kira Blue, Kira Red, Iden Red, Ray Blue, Ray Red, Ray Yellow, Han 2 Blue. That is 11 decks that have recently won or topped large-scale tournaments, continuously reappeared in top 8s, and have consistently won. And the common running theme is not varied differences in the lists. The common running theme is these cards, and this is the reason I'm splashing these cards. Like, I've seen videos and deck breakdowns of people talking, just being like, why would I not run this? Of course I'm running this. This is why I've splashed blue in. I run no other blue cards but these. Or, I might run a few others. But...
And it's become a situation where a lot of decks that I build, take CAD, for instance, starting off with CAD Red, which was a lot of fun, really good.
I love that deck.
And I went, okay, but I can't deal with an Avenger. I can't deal with Luke's. I can kind of deal with Luke's, but it's a bit hard to deal with Luke's. I can kind of deal with a few other things, but those kind of late game, those Devastators or Relentlesses, I can't deal with them. Well, what can I do? Oh, well, if I swap to blue, suddenly I have the Fellow Dragons. I have the thing. It's like, so your matchup into aggro is then limited, right? It's like, well, no, because I just put in those Vigilances again, and those Vigilances would be fine if they were just a late game piece that let you, that grinded out the game, sure. But they're also really powerful
Heal 5, kill this.
into these kind of aggro matchups, because it can kill pretty much anything Sabine puts down early game and goes, awesome, I'm going to out heal you. And suddenly you put in those top targets,
top target, the heal 6.
Top target, and now I'm healing 6, but I kill it with Vigilance and heal 5, so I'm healing 11, and then you play Wrecker and you do 7 damage to me, and I go, alright, fell the dragon.
Now, you might be sitting there going, okay, maybe you've got a point, guys, but if blue's so bad, what about Takedown? What about Power of the Dark Side? And what about Vanquish and Rivals Fall? Why haven't you mentioned those? Well, firstly, Rivals Fall creates an interesting problem in and of itself where Rivals Fall didn't need to exist. It didn't need to be made.
I think Rivals Fall is up there with them because it makes situations where I go, man, I'd love to play my Chewy deck.
Haha, Rivals Fall.
No,
I
just can't.
Because people run that. They main deck that. Not even for that. That's the problem is these people are running decks, and these decks, or not these people, these decks are running these cards because they need to face off against each other in the threats. And everyone else suffers for it.
Yeah. And so I go, I can't play Chewy because what am I going to do? Voltron Chewy? Or, like, why could I possibly do that?
When they already main deck the answer, not even for you.
And it could, and it's not even a case of like, okay, if I can outplay them and constantly keep another unit, they can't power him.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have to get to pay 8 for the Super Laser Blast, which I think is also adding to that issue.
Yeah, you get a board wipe as well. With, like, again, Super Laser Blast is genuinely fine, but the fact that it's like, the fact that it's on curve removal, the fact that it's turn 2 I have power, turn 3 I have
take down or fell the dragon.
Turn 4 I have vanquish, take down, fell the dragon. Turn 5 I have Rivals Fall. I can do any of the other removal on this turn, and then the turn after I can board wipe if I need to. It's just, that's
so
disgusting.
If anything gets out of hand, if anything goes something where they go, oh, actually you've gotten a few units out and I can't, oh well, I'll just board wipe.
So in a game, like, I think with the other cards, I think I do want to just say with Takedown, with Power of the Dark Side, and with Vanquish, I actually think these are fine. I think Vanquish is limited because it targets non-leaders. I think that's a fine card to have. I think Rivals Fall didn't need to be made because we had Vanquish, and yes, it targets leaders, but leaders can be taken out in other ways.
Yeah,
there are ways to deal with them.
I even think Power of the Dark Side might be pushing I think Power of the Dark Side is pushing it at 3 and as an extremely powerful. I understand that in set 3, it's going to lose some of its value to tokens coming out, and I think that's where we can be like, awesome.
I think that's why it's okay, is because Power of the Dark Side right now, it's pretty good. And in set 1, people were complaining that Power of the Dark Side was oppressive. And you've just made more cards like this. And Power of the Dark Side in of itself is fine because you can go wide with set 3. That solves the problem, that's fine. But set 3 doesn't solve the problem of Rivals Fall or Fell the Dragon. And Takedown is fine because Takedown caps out, and it caps hard. It's not a late removal piece. You
have to swing into something and then play it.
For the first 3 turns, it's really, really good. Or for the first 2 to 3 turns, it's that you can use it. It's really, really good. Yeah. But Fell the Dragon is good as soon as you hit 4. Fell the Dragon is good, and it will continue
better
to be
and
good.
better and better and better and better
every
time.
And that's a problem. That's a bad design problem because Rivals Fall is a better Vanquish. You'll never need to use Vanquish again. Why would you? And then Fell the Dragon is probably one of the best removal, if not the best removal in the game, because it only gets better as sets come out and turns go on. Yeah, Takedown's good, but Takedown doesn't get to kill Pose, it doesn't get to kill Wreckers, and you have to put in effort to remove it. You have to adhere to the spirit of the game by trading and hitting a unit to remove it, to then, to put it down to then remove it.
And then when you put them together, you just get the best of both worlds. You can remove the low stuff with the with Takedown, you can remove the high stuff with Fell the Dragon, and you can remove everything with Rivals Fall. Like, as I said, Rivals Fall is a really tough card because it's one of those situations where the fact that Rivals Fall exists inherently takes away the value of leaders in this game. A core mechanic of this game that can be
it's
play-aroundable.
It's undermined.
It is not able to be played around. The only way you would be able to play around it would be to make sure that
the leader says the leader has TIE Phantom's text,
or that you discard, you spark a rebellion out of their hand, and then they go, awesome, I draw for turn, awesome.
Notably, a card that villain decks are having to tech in to beat this. Control decks are running Spark of Rebellion to beat it. This card has Kanan on it. Why would you do this in a villain deck? But I think that I would use the words format warping, where there's 3 cards in the format currently that are format warping to me, and I honestly, I feel pretty confident saying this, many others. And that's Boba's Armor, Rivals Fall, and Fell the Dragon. Because, Vigilance, sorry, not Rivals Fall. Vigilance, Fell the Dragon, and then Rivals Fall will be my 4th. Yeah. You are actively having to change your deck styles, builds, and play styles because these cards exist. I want to build X deck because back in set 1 it was really good. I want to build X deck because in the early days of set 2 testing it was really good, but I can't because format warp around, I can't beat Boba with Boba's Armor, or format warp around, all my good end gets killed by Rivals Fall Takedown, or format warp around, I'm an aggro deck, but I'm not as quick as Sabine, so I die to Vigilance. And I can't build the decks I want to play without them. And for those of you who are saying, but I need these cards, you don't. There are other ways that you can have effects like this without these cards. We managed in set 1 without these cards. And by the end of it, we had Mono Blue Iden, and Vigilance was really cooked in that deck. It was a problem. It was very, very good. And now it's worse.
Now, we've said a lot that can be taken as quite contentious in the space. And you might be saying to yourself, oh, these guys just don't like control. And sometimes, a lot of times it can be valid. Maybe in Reese's case, you're not much of a control player.
I'm not a control guy.
That's understandable.
Fair enough.
I love control. I love the play style. I love playing it. It's one of my favorite types of things to play in card games. I love Vigilance. It's probably one of my favorite cards from set 1.
Yeah.
I do not like where the meta of SWU is at the moment. If you talk to a player and they go, man, this meta, it's good for us control players, right? That is not a control player. That is someone who just plays the meta that's currently being played. Because a control player does not want a mirror match every single game. A control player wants to sit down in a sea of aggro decks and
value.
I've learnt and I've managed to create a deck that can combat this and can deal with this and in these really interesting and new ways. That isn't the control that we have. And while I enjoy control a lot, I think that genuinely there are situations in SWU at the moment that are causing people to have a bad time, and this needs to be looked into moving into set 3, where, and I'm going to be 100% honest, I have not seen a single card that changes the meta
to me. They don't do anything. Like, all these awesome new leaders and everything, they don't matter.
They're
Because
really cool, and there's
I
some
want to
really
play Rex. I want Rex, like legitimately. Okay, I really want to play Rex, and I really want Rex to be good. And I built this mono green Rex deck, and I looked into it, and we had a discussion about this, and I posted it in our group chat that we have with our friends, and literally 3 or 4 people, and it went, "This would be awesome if it wasn't bad." And I went, "Why? It runs all these really good value pieces. It's got all this. It's got Ewing. It's got Home One. It's got all these great late game." And they literally just said it loses to blue. They're right. So I can't play. I can't play what feasibly would be a tier 1 to 1.5 mono green or red green value deck because it can't beat blue. And that's the big thing is, as you said before, a lot of control players play control because they like to use their intelligence. They like to play skill because when you play control players don't sit down against an opponent and go, "I feel safe this whole game." Yeah. They go, "I put these cards in for this matchup and I know this game knowledge, so I'm playing this." And I
like playing Regional Governor because I have the card knowledge to go, I know what you're trying to do in this situation and I know I can play this. And yeah, I'm locking you out of the game a little bit. But I'm looking. You feel locked out because I know what you're trying to do and I'm able to stop it. When I am just go, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to remove it.
Yeah, it's
whatever it is.
Control is hard earned, and it can be messed up easily if people are running the right pieces to beat you. That is control. That is the fair rock paper scissors in all those card games. Control currently in SWU, literally anyone can pick it up. Literally anyone can pick it up, and the reason they can pick it up is because there is no skill in it currently. It's just on curve removal. Power of the Dark Side, Takedown, Fell the Dragon, Vanquish, Rivals Fall. Oh my gosh, I'll let you do this for a turn. Fantastic, Super Laser Blast.
And so
Avenger.
To kind of conclude what we're saying, as we're moving towards these more competitive events, the planetaries are coming up. Yes, there's been some issues with those as well. They've been already been addressed.
We got faith in FFG to fix that. That's fine.
That's all good.
The
planetaries are coming up. Set 3's coming up. Planetaries in Set 3's is coming up. Sector qualifiers in Set 3 is coming out. Set 4, like regionals and worlds, and Galactic Championship, sorry. They're all coming up. These events are coming quick and fast. And I think FFG really need to look into what kind of meta they have moving into that. Yeah. And whether Set 3 and 4 are able to stifle this kind of meta warping situation where decks can and do, no matter what else they do in their deck as well, whether it's CAD that plays a bunch of ambush as well, whether it's Palpatine that ramps into larger ships, all go, oh well, in the control matchup, it's just a vigilance game. Because they're able to do nothing. Bosk, which is the king of doing nothing.
Its goal is to mill you. It runs one bounty card for top target. It literally it goes against Bosk.
And says, oh, awesome. So I think FFG really actually need to look into what meta do I want moving into Worlds, and genuinely, is that meta going to be possible with the current cards?
I think I'll leave you with this before we finish up this episode with my final thoughts on it, and then we'll get James's. But FFG has been very responsive to the community's feelings. I think that right now, if you are in America or Australia or Europe or anywhere else, and your meta isn't how our meta is very competitive. We do have a very, very competitive meta, but you will notice a trend. You will notice a trend in decks that top or win the next coming PQs, and that trend will be that those decks are blue, and they are running blue because they want to run the control packages, because currently that's the most viable strategy to beat out decks in Swiss. Blue can beat aggro easily because of the healing it has with top target and the removal. Blue can beat Boba easy because it has the removal. And then blue just beats itself easy because it's just a grind fest of whoever sees their restocks first. I think FFG, if you listen to the community and listen to it, I agree with James. Think about what meta you want, because it's made abundantly clear by you guys so far that the meta you want is one which breeds creativity and the core of the game of trading and flipping leaders and having this interesting experience. That control has been supported in set 1 and in the early set 2 stage as well. We saw a very healthy meta, very healthy control. The problem is it spiraled out, and control, I almost don't want to call it that anymore because it's lost the essence of what it is. It's not really control anymore. It's just removal.
And I think one of the, and this is going to be the last thing that I say about it. I think you've finished off yours. Say, we had a store showdown recently where the top 4 of it was Mono Blue Iden, Mono Blue Ray, Mono Blue Kira, and another Mono Blue Ray.
The top 4 was there was a green yellow boba in there, and then number 5 was a Mono Blue Ray, and then there was 2 more mono yellow bobas.
The top 4 did not play their game, or the finals was not played. It was split. They decided, and it was fair enough in the tournament. Everyone agreed on it.
Yeah.
That they would split the prizing between them because
they didn't want to play.
No one wanted to play.
They didn't want to play that out because.
And if you're playing in a meta that you don't want to play your games in, you're like, I could get this big this prize.
The prize was a box, by the way, for our store showdown.
Yeah.
It was a winner box.
They didn't want it.
And they didn't want a box because it was easier,
They did not
quicker,
want to play those games.
less exhausting.
So, I think that's the question. Would you rather people not want to play those really competitive late games because of this situation? Is that the meta that we're looking for? I say no.
It's not fun.
So look towards what your competitive scene is. Look at what's going on. These planetaries are coming up. Unfortunately, Miris aren't going to be able to make it to the Australia one through various reasons.
Shucks.
Mainly because with the prizing and everything, it's not really worth us to fly all the way there.
It's a lot of
that
money
stuff.
to get there and stuff.
So there's a lot of factors to it. But look at these planetary events, and when you start to see these mono blue decks or even these splashed blue decks that are like splashing just those, awesome. I've got 2 Fell the Dragon and 2 Rivals Fall and 2 Takedowns and 2 Vigilances, and that's my blue. Then
that's not blue.
Understand that that's not blue.
That's
remove.
It's not. It's just removal. You're not running
So-
blue cards. You're running removal.
That's the situation that we're facing at the moment. I would love to see that change in set 3 and set 4.
So
I would love to see that change now and be proved wrong on this. But if you have thoughts on this, put it down in the comments.
Please, genuinely, please do. We respond to them as much as we can. I've got notifications on my phone. So
I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you understand where we're coming from and not a place of, this is bad, this is terrible.
we have our
But
reasons.
it is a situation where multiple people that we talk with and we've played with are struggling to enjoy the game because of it, and that's something that needs
There's
to be
also
looked into.
something that I did take time to research before this episode today. I was looking at decks and looking at tournament breakdowns, and I spoke with some people about it. So I did make a conscious effort from our experiences to get this to you, because I don't like when card game content creators just sit there and go, I don't like this, so I want it banned. And I know I'm someone who is very opinionated about cards, but being genuinely realistic about this, I might not look boba, but I still said that he's fine in the format and there's a problem. But if you want to see updates on this, we will probably cover more stuff as this meta goes on. So please subscribe.
We'll definitely be doing tournament breakdowns. Yeah. We will be talking about this more. If you enjoyed this, and this is an honest talk with us and our experience in SWU to you guys, please subscribe. Please check out our other videos.
Hit the bell.
And if you want to see something that isn't blue, go check out the gameplay.
I run Bosk and it's not blue?
It's not blue. Crazy. And it does, spoiler alert, pretty well.
This is legitimately, these are the kind of decks we could have if we didn't have to worry so much about stuff like that.
But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.